morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
Well, the ground's getting a little slick on some of these morning rides, and I'll be relieved when we get a couple of ranch horses outfitted with their winter shoes. Already got winter tires on the truck. Still a few cows and calves to be brought in and processed, and boy, I wouldn't trade this kind of life for anything. And this week we're going to go back to Gerry Westergaard for more stories about very interesting horses.
Holy shit, look at that gray horse run.
And Baxter Black looks at how some cowboy logic was applied to a mechanical challenge.
The front wheels were still engaged, but they were spinning in thin air as the pickup cap balanced on the edge of a 16-foot drop. All in a day's work.
On the Rangeland News, is the new U.S.-Canada-Mexico trade agreement ever gonna happen?
I've been very optimistic about this getting done this fall.
And a couple of other stories that might really get your blood pressure up if you live on a farm or a ranch. Some fine cowboy poetry on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear horse training file. I'll answer some questions from a guy who is new to horses and thinks he can be riding a bridle horse straight up California style after watching just a few videos and putting in a couple of weeks. Our classic Song of the West this week introduces a guy that you should really be paying attention to, a rising star in Western music. And we'll start off with this great collaboration, the words of Daryl Arnold and the music of Jack Hanna with the Sons of the San Joaquin.
There's something that a cowboy knows that makes him ride the land. His choice of life that only he and God can understand. He knows that every day he lives could be his very last. So he lives it while he can, hard and good and fast. What a cowboy knows, you gotta be a cowboy to know. What a cowboy knows, you gotta be a cowboy to know. There's something that a cowboy knows that poorer men will not. Like riding circle all day in a fast ground-eating trot. He knows the wild lion charge across the rocky hills. Stride 1,000 pounds of horse, the rush, the joy, the thrill. What a cowboy knows, you gotta be a cowboy to know.
There's something that a cowboy knows, a kinship with the wind, that causes him to live alone, his horse's closest friend. He knows a feeling in his heart that makes it seem worthwhile to drift alone and thus forsake a woman's touch and smile.
What a cowboy knows, you gotta be a cowboy to know. There's something that a cowboy knows, a scent born on the air, of sage and sweat and leather, and smoke and burning hair. He knows the pain of choke and dust that burns his blinded eyes. He knows to pray for blessed rain from empty cloudless skies. What a cowboy knows, you gotta be a cowboy to know. There's something that a cowboy knows about the break of day that drags him from his sogans, for the stars have cleared away. He knows the pledge of springtime with new life all around, like tiny, shiny, wobbly calves drying on the ground. What a cowboy knows, you gotta be a cowboy to know. There's something that a cowboy knows about living beneath the sky, out there where men have room to live and better room to die. He knows the blast of winter storm when cold cuts like a knife right through his coat and woolies as it tries to steal his life. What a cowboy knows, you gotta be a cowboy to know. There's something that a cowboy knows, a need he can't explain, that draws him to that soul-fulfilling freedom of the plain. He knows the sound, the siren song, the coyote's haunting cry, makes him ride that wild land until his last goodbye. What a cowboy knows, you gotta be a cowboy to know. What a cowboy knows, you gotta be a cowboy to know.
Well, his first story from Gerry Westergaard has a connection to what I'll be talking about on the horse training file a little later, developing a California-style bridle horse, but in the process, this was kind of an unorthodox approach.
Well, there's a fellow named Jerry Cooper I keep coming back to, and he worked at primarily at Nicola and all the smaller ranches in that, but he can be a little bit unorthodox in his ways sometimes of getting things done, but he's a tremendous all-around cowboy. And I remember one time at Nicola, there was him and a fellow we call California Robbie, because he was from California, and myself. We were sorting out the heifer calves from the cows with heifer calves from the cows with the bull calves back in what we call the Winnie Corrals back up behind there at the home ranch. And we were all riding hackamore horses, but Coop's horse kept running through the Bozell all the time, and he was getting a little bit upset with this, and he was doing most of the sorting, and Robbie and I, we were handling the gates. So I had a big Siwash sweater on. It was fairly nice day, so he yelled at me that he wanted to borrow my sweater. So okay, I give him my sweater. So he got off his horse, and he tied this sweater around the horse's head, blindfolded him. And I'm not kidding you. We sorted that probably 300-400 head of cows. We separated all them, and he did most of the separating with his horse blindfolded. They said, this way this horse won't be running through the Bozell. And that's the way he sorted those cattle.
Holy smoke. Wow.
Yeah. Never seen it done before or since.
Not to sort cattle. I've done that a time or two, and, for some reason that horse has got to not see anything for whatever, was it going into a trailer or something like that, but never with that.
Yeah.
Man. I've always had an appreciation for good Appaloosa horses, but I don't see a lot of my riding partners using them. Not sure why, but we'll talk about it with Gerry Westergaard when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Farm Fair International returns this November 6th to 10th. Witness the future of Alberta's agriculture industry as guests from around the world gather at the Edmonton Expo Center to buy and sell top-quality livestock, make important connections, and share knowledge. At Farm Fair, you can shop for unique holiday gifts at the Winter Marketplace or enjoy a variety of Western entertainment like the Stock Dog Trials and the Heritage Ranch Rodeo. It's a big deal to buy, sell, and connect. Plan your visit at farmfairinternational.com. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. The first horse I owned was a young Appaloosa, and he was a good one. The sad part is he didn't live beyond 5 years old. His name was Dandy, and I rode him during live on-air commentary for CFAC Radio during the Calgary Stampede Chuckwagon races back in about probably 1969. And Kelly Sutherland, I think, won the Dash for Cash. Anyway, there have been other good ones. Old Drifter rode him for years. Nugget, great mare, served us well for a long time. And Old Zip, the horse that I lost in a bet to Billy. And Gerry Westergaard and I share an appreciation for that breed.
I think I was probably one of the first people to cowboy and Appaloosa horses down in the Nicola Valley. And I was riding, I had this Appaloosa mare. She was one of Joe Sabian's horses, and he run Appaloosas and thoroughbreds on the fair circuit down through Idaho and California and whatever. So his Appaloosa program was primarily breeding the Appaloosas to his thoroughbred horses. But I had this this mare that originated with him, and it was out of a stud called Comanche's Warrior. So I was at Nicola, and I was riding this horse. We were cutting one afternoon, and I found it kind of interesting. Gene Turnbow, he's the guy from Texas, and he knew pretty well everything there was to know about horses anywhere out there, and so he was kind of impressed with the way my horse was working, and in his Texan way, he said, "How's that horse bred?" And I said, "Well, she's out of a horse called Comanche's Warrior." And he said, "Comanche's Warrior?" He said, I seen him outrun a pickup truck in Albuquerque."
Holy cow! I never knew that.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I was riding that same horse at Douglas Lake. We were sorting cattle down at English Bridge, and C.N. Woodward was there at the time. And of course, on the front of his big arena, the quarter horse barn, there was a big sign said "Home of World Champion Quarter Horses." So, as luck would have it, well then, Mike Ferguson, the cow boss, he told me to come in and work the gate while he was going to be pushing some steers at me, and my horse had a real good day that day. She's really working. And then Woodward, he's watching from another corral, and by the time we got done, well then he rode over and he said, "Damn it," he said, "I'm going to have to write Appaloosas on my sign now, I guess." I took that as a bit of a compliment.
That's I don't know if he ever did, though.
No, I don't think he did.
So, yeah. But yeah, isn't that
Yeah,
neat?
but he did. I guess he would just try to make me feel good.
Well, there's more about the late Joe Sabian and the great Appy stud Comanche Warrior after a pretty appropriate song from Bobby Wayne.
Back in history's pages, there's a story we all know, how the white man fought the Indian, so the story goes. Have you heard about the horse the Indians say sweat blood? War horse of the Ned's purse, the Appaloosa stud. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, with your head held high. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, the proudest horse a man could ever ride. He could outrun any other horse in distance or in speed. When the chase began, the Appaloosa always took the lead. The cavalry could never catch Chief Joseph and his band. The Ned's purse had the fastest, toughest horses in the land. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, with your head held high. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, the proudest horse a man could ever ride. Well, they came from Spain to Mexico in the year of 92. From Mexico to the western states, the Appaloosa grew. The Indians said they liked his looks, his color, fire, and speed. The war horse of the Nez Perce, proudest of the western breed. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, with your head held high. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, proudest horse a man could ever ride. General Howard gave the order when the war was done to kill the spotted horses, each and every one. Joseph's brother led 6,000 to the riverbed. Across the raging river, 3,000 there were dead. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, with your head held high. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, proudest horse a man could ever ride. Appaloosa, Appaloosa, with your head held high.
And the Appaloosa stallion that Gerry Westergaard, of course, was talking about was the great Comanche Warrior, owned by the late Joe Sabian.
Well, that's amazing, because I can remember Joe Sabian riding that stud, Comanche Warrior. We had a mounted drill team in Kamloops, well, that whole area, Kamloops an area, back in about 69, I think, in around there. And Joe would haul them in from Barrier, and we would practice by the old stockyards on Lawrence Street, their great big green field. And I don't know, there's about a dozen of us in this drill team, and he was riding this Comanche Warrior at that time, doing that with them, you know. And he was well-mannered with mares around and everything. You could. Yeah.
I have to tell one
you
more
bet.
story about the Patsy riding racehorses. Well, we were at a place called Blacklands at this time, which was had been originally called Elmbrook Farms. It had been the biggest and the busiest thoroughbred farm west of Winnipeg, and we were working these young horses, and there was a real nice 2-year-old filly that belonged to a lady, and we were just getting her ready to go to the track, and she was going to come out and watch us breeze this horse. We had a nice big half-mile track there. So she was bringing out her entourage to watch this nice filly run. So the plan was that Patsy would be on Dennis, and Don Cathcart would be on this nice 2-year-old filly, and they would just start out as a nice trot, and then come past the grandstand, and then go down into the first turn, and by then they'd be galloping, and then coming down the backstretch. Well, then Dawn would open the mare up, and then she would come around and she'd breeze past the entourage when they're in the grandstand there, so she could show off her good prospect to all her good friends. So then this started to fall into place, but the problem is Dennis didn't like any other horse being in front of him when they come out of a turn. So Patsy had to hold Dennis in when they come out of the turn. So it didn't really work that way. And they came out of the turn, and Dennis was a big gray horse, and the filly was bay. And as they come out of the turn, here comes big Dennis. He probably weighs 1,400 pounds, and he's 3 lengths in the lead.
Whoops.
Coming down the backstretch.
Oh, dear.
And just heard one person say, "Holy shit, look at that gray horse run."
Well, there's more from Gerry a little later. Coming right up, Baxter Black describes what happens when cowboy logic gets applied to a mechanical challenge. And the Rangeland news might raise your eyebrows when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Farm Fair International returns this November 6th to 10th. Witness the future of Alberta's agriculture industry as guests from around the world gather at the Edmonton Expo Center to buy and sell top-quality livestock, make important connections, and share knowledge. At Farm Fair, you can shop for unique holiday gifts at the Winter Marketplace or enjoy a variety of Western entertainment like the Stock Dog Trials and the Heritage Ranch Rodeo. It's a big deal to buy, sell, and connect. Plan your visit at farmfairinternational.com.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, and I'll be right back after this with a little peek at the runaway truck.
Your land is a legacy, a challenge from those who tended it before you to build on their foundations. At Corteva Agriscience, we understand what it means to be the stewards of a legacy. We embrace the challenge of building on the foundation of Dow AgroSciences to maintain your trust, to bring new solutions, to help you care for your land. See how we can help build your legacy at rangeandpasture.com.
And for our Canadian listeners, just check Corteva.ca, the Canadian website.
When a West River, South Dakota gal tells you her daddy's a cowboy, I believe it, because she knows the difference. Bill, her dad, treats his machinery the way a teamster treats a yoke of oxen, with belligerence. He is not tolerant of slack behavior or whining from man or beast or machine, but he is loyal to long service and therefore has yet to own a vehicle with square headlights. One summer morning last year, he went out to bale hay. His Jurassic area IH-706 tractor waited in the field already hooked to its ancient round baler. Bill mounted the dinosaur and cranked the starter. Nothing but a click. He regretted that he'd lent his battery cables to a neighbor, but was not deterred. He backed the faithful 84 Ford 3/4-ton four-wheeled diesel up to the front of the tractor. Thank goodness he'd left the loader bucket tipped clear over with the 3 grapple forks just barely to the ground. Bill chained up, put the tractor in neutral, mounted the pickup, dropped her in gear, and chugged out of a dead stop. Once up to speed, he jumped out of the rolling truck, left it in gear, and then ran alongside the tractor, leaped into the seat, shifted gears, and popped the clutch and took command. I'm sure he had a plan, but the tow chain came loose and it went awry. The plan, that is. The truck, suddenly relieved of its load, speeded up and took out across the field. It had a clear path to the precipitous banks that lay on the Cheyenne River breaks less than 50 yards away. Bill goosed the tractor into hot pursuit. The baler was banging and bouncing behind, and all the while he was flipping the loader bucket and forks into position. He closed in on the hapless pickup like a largemouth bass on a plastic worm, and with the deftness of a fat man's chopsticks, he maneuvered the bucket under the pickup's heavy-duty, handmade back bumper, and with nary a second thought, he closed the forks over the top, lifted the back tires off the ground, and banged to a stop. The front wheels were still engaged, but they were spinning in thin air as the pickup cab balanced on the edge of a 16-foot drop. All in a day's work. I guess he could have gone for help, or borrowed some jumper cables, or carried a cellular phone, or instituted at least a dozen other plans that would have made more sense. But he didn't. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, brought to you by Corteva Agri-Science.
Farm Fair International returns this November 6th to 10th. Witness the future of Alberta's agriculture industry as guests from around the world gather at the Edmonton Expo Center to buy and sell top-quality livestock, make important connections, and share knowledge. At Farm Fair, you can shop for unique holiday gifts at the Winter Marketplace or enjoy a variety of Western entertainment like the Stock Dog Trials and the Heritage Ranch Rodeo. It's a big deal to buy, sell, and connect. Plan your visit at farmfairinternational.com. Just ahead of a roundup of happenings around the West on the Rangeland News, here's something that is really nice when it's not looking down on 2 feet of snow from Alan and Arnell, the Big Prairie Sky.
Come ride with me down a long gravel road to a sweet sanctuary that I call my home. Alberta wild roses, they bloom in the field, and a big prairie sky, a blue prairie sky, it's my home. Well, I need blue skies and clouds up above, in the distance those mountains and a sweetie I love, a safe place to lay down with good books to read, and a big prairie sky, a blue prairie sky, it's my home. Sunbeams and moonbeams would mark all the days, surrounding the moments in so many roots deep as the maples that grow by the road, and a big prairie sky, a blue prairie sky, it's my home. Sunbeams and moonbeams would mark all the days, surrounding the moments in so deep as the maples that grow by the road, and a big prairie sky, a blue prairie sky. Yes, it's my prairie sky, and I'm home.
Now the news of the Rangeland, a roundup of news and coming events from around the West.
At the top of page 1, it says a lot of folks in agriculture, both in Canada and the U.S., are wondering if the new NAFTA, the USMCA, will ever happen. Well, there seems to be a little momentum now, and with more, here's Gary Crawford.
The USMCA is what brought me here today. The largest trade deal in American history.
Vice President Mike Pence was at a Tyson's food plant in Nashville, Tennessee, dumping for congressional ratification of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement.
The USMCA is projected to add $68 billion to our economy and create 176,000 new jobs. It's also estimated the USMCA would increase annual American agricultural exports by $2.2 billion.
And with the Vice President, Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue, who earlier in the day told RFD-TV that as far as Congress approving USMCA,
I've been very optimistic about this getting done this fall.
He says there's wide support for it.
And I'm hoping we won't let this recent distractions politically interfere with doing the work of the people regarding these trade agreements. It's extremely important.
Late Monday, President Trump signed 2 trade agreements with Japan. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.
The last of 38 cattle herds subject to trace out in connection with last November's bovine tuberculosis case in BC has been released from movement controls. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency announced removal of the last restriction on September 23rd and said trace-in efforts designed to identify and eliminate the source of the disease if possible, are beginning this fall. The investigation came from the discovery of one TB-infected animal traced to a ranch in BC on November 9th, 2018. 3 more infected cattle in that herd were later confirmed with the illness, and then the entire herd was destroyed. Well, one of my big frustrations shared by many of our neighbors is the blatant disregard for respect of private property by mostly urban people driving around in pickups or SUVs, and especially in the fall. We've all spent countless frustrating hours looking for missing cattle when gates have been left open or fences cut on private land. But that's not the worst part, though. In Manitoba, the rural crime rate is up 42% higher than the urban rate, while in Alberta it's 38% higher. In Saskatchewan, the rural rate was 36% higher, and the police reported crime rates in both urban and rural areas were more than twice the rest of the country. The national average of rural criminal code violations was 6,210 per 100,000 people, and that went up to 13,829 per 100,000 people in Saskatchewan. Most of the time, rural landowners will be happy to allow visitors and hunters who help control wildlife populations, but we just would really like to know who's on that piece of land. And this information we got from the Drovers Cattle Network. An attempted robbery at a rural Alberta property resulted in more legal woes for a rancher than for the thieves. Edward Maurice's decision to fire 2 warning shots in the wee morning hours of February 24, 2018, put the 33-year-old family man into a nearly 2-year legal entanglement that's not over yet. His dogs awoke him at about 5 in the morning on that morning that would throw his family into turmoil. He saw through the front door that his vehicle lights were on, and there were people rummaging through it. He was alone in the house with his infant daughter. His wife and other daughter were away at the time, and he retrieved a gun, opened the door, and demanded that the trespassers leave. And when his demands were ignored, he said he fired 2 warning shots from a .22 caliber rifle, and then the trespassers left. He then called the Mounties, but when they arrived 2 hours later, they had their guns drawn and they arrested the rancher because one of the intruders had been injured. And that led to charges against Maurice of aggravated assault, pointing a firearm, and careless use of a firearm, and it would take 4 months and 6 court appearances before the charges against him were finally dropped in June of 2018. But that wasn't the end of it. Last month, one of the intruders filed a civil suit against him, seeking $100,000 because he suffered emotional upset, severe fatigue, and insomnia. He also claimed special damages, including loss of income, in an amount to be proven in court. An online fundraiser is trying to help with Maurice's legal bills, and nearly $57,000 has been raised so far from about 655 contributors. And as you're hearing this, Billy and I are busy at the Chilliwack Main Event Trainers Challenge following the progress of Jake Krundenier, Jacqueline C., and Kyle Fisher, working with 3 nice colts from Alberta's Rockin' Heart Ranch. So if you're around, stop by the round pen and say howdy. Next regular cattle sale at the BC Livestock Kamloops Yards is October 29th. Then there's a calf sale in Williams Lake October 30th, regular cattle sale October 31st, and on November 1st, a pre-sort sale at the Vanderhoof Yards. You can get all the information and the schedules at bclivestock.bc.ca. Meanwhile, at the Innisfail auction market, pre-sort sales on every Monday, regular sales on Wednesdays, and there'll be a lot of good bred cow and heifer sales starting on about November 22nd. Get all the details at the Innisfail at InnisfailAuctionMarket.com, and you can call to book your cattle at 1-800-710-3166. All right, the final item. And you know, with those thousands of election signs still up, a friend of ours found out that no matter how annoying those signs are, it's important to read them carefully. Apparently, this time, he voted for a real estate agent. And that's the Rangeland News. Coming up in the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, I've got some comments for a young rider who read the book, bought the video, and the very expensive equipment, and wants to know about making his green gelding into a California-style bridle horse in about 2 weeks, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Farm Fair International returns this November 6th to 10th. Witness the future of Alberta's agriculture industry as guests from around the world gather at the Edmonton Expo Center to buy and sell top-quality livestock, make important connections, and share knowledge. At Farm Fair, you can shop for unique holiday gifts at the Winter Marketplace or enjoy a variety of Western entertainment like the Stock Dog Trials and the Heritage Ranch Rodeo. It's a big deal to buy, sell, and connect. Plan your visit at farmfairinternational.com. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. I had to tell this guy the process takes years, and he thought he could do it in a few weeks. That's coming up in the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File. First, though, here is the latest on the next Spirit of the West cruise. We are calling this The Spirit of the West Brings It Home. And as I said last week, this will be our 19th annual, and after that many years, Billy and I will be stepping back from hosting cruises after this one, so we really want to make it memorable and as uncomplicated as possible. So here's how we plan to do things. Folks from Alberta, Saskatchewan, and beyond, and in the U.S. will probably fly to Kelowna, BC on July 15th, overnighting there in a beautiful hotel, and then board the coaches for a trip up to the McLennan Ranch, our little place above Kamloops. And you'll be treated to a live show with the amazing Western Spirit Band, along with special guest Lewis the Big Rig McIver, who of course gave me one of his kidneys. And after the visit to our place, the coaches will take you to beautiful Sun Peaks, where you can ride the chairlift, see the mountain wildflowers, and see the place where cattle still graze and have done so in the summers for over 100 years. After overnighting there, the coaches head to Vancouver. You overnight then, and in the next morning, board the beautiful Holland America Koningsdam for a 7-day trip up the Inside Passage to Alaska and back. You don't fly back, you ride the ship back. And we'll have lots of special events for our cruise group, including one of our favorite trips, the White Pass Railroad. We sure hope you can join Billy and I on our farewell cruise, and for all the information, you can see the cruise page at hugh-mclennan.com and call 1-800-530-0131.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Hear that? That's what fall sounds like at Urban Tack and Western Wear. Brand new arrivals by the truckload every week. The latest fall fashions to keep you warm and toasty, plus over in the new Boot Ranch, a huge selection for cowboys and cowgirls of all ages, along with work boots, hikers, and slip-ons. And of course, no visit to Urban's is complete without a peek at their unique Western decor and collectibles. Exit 305 off Highway 2 by Crossfield.
Canada's largest Western store.
I had a visit with a young, enthusiastic fellow who had just bought his first horse. He'd read a few books, he'd ridden rental horses at riding stables, and he had this dream of being a cowboy and riding a horse straight up in the bridle, California style. And he seemed to have fairly deep pockets, or maybe his folks did. He already had got a fancy flat-brimmed hat, big rowel spurs, a collection of neck rags, and a Bozell and Spanish-style spade bit, and a set of reins and romal, made in China. And he figured he'd have this mastered in a couple of weeks. Well, where do you start explaining that long process, developed by the masters for over many years, to somebody who has no clue about how it works? I tried to point out examples of horses that are ready to be ridden this way and how it takes years of careful development to bring them along. And one of our good mares actually has really taken some of this stuff nicely, but I won't even tell you how many years it's been to get her to that point. Started out with an O-ring snaffle, then several different Bozells and a two-rein setup, and finally, in most situations, I can use the reins and romal with a half-breed type bit, and she's really comfortable to do anything and everything that I was able to do with a snaffle or a Bozell. I do hear from some folks who say once they go to the shank bit, they lose much of the finesse and the lateral maneuvers that they could do two-handed with a snaffle or Bozell. And I've found that as this process developed, I could do a two-track, a side pass, a rollback with the shank bit, but at times I just have to help a little with a two-handed approach. Now, for this enthusiastic but somewhat naive young guy, I'd strongly recommend taking a bridle horse clinic from one of the masters, or maybe several clinics. And then he'll probably realize that the more he finds out about it, the less he really knew, and the more there is to learn. About 3 names come up to mind for clinics you might look into: Jonathan Field and Bruce Sandifer, and of course Miles Kingdon, depending on where you are. And for Urban Saddles and Western Wear, that's the Horse Training File. Something that really works well, whether your horse is young or old, is a daily feeding of Hoffman's Horse Ration. Ours get it all the time, and you can find out more at hoffmanshorseration.com. Farm Fair International returns this November 6th to 10th. Witness the future of Alberta's agriculture industry as guests from around the world gather at the Edmonton Expo Center to buy and sell top-quality livestock, make important connections, and share knowledge. At Farm Fair, you can shop for unique holiday gifts at the Winter Marketplace, or enjoy a variety of Western entertainment like the Stock Dog Trials and the Heritage Ranch Rodeo. It's a big deal to buy, sell, and connect. Plan your visit at farmfairinternational.com. Gerry Westergaard has the information on what became of that big gray horse Dennis that he named after Dennis Sam that he talked about in the last segment, after another song about those great spotted horses. This time it's Tom Hyatt.
Been a drifting cowboy nearly all of my days. Never thought I'd ever change my wandering ways. Never ever take a woman for to be my wife. Gonna be a lone cowboy for the rest of my life. Met a green-eyed girl down San Diego way, and her warm soft body made me wanna stay. But I said goodbye, and it was not too soon. One summer California night, neath an Appaloosa moon. Old Appaloosa moon in a cloudy night sky, light up my trail as your clouds drift by. I won't change my ways, I won't gonna change my tune. Almost fell under a spell neath an Appaloosa moon. Didn't take too long, boy, me to realize couldn't keep my thoughts away from those evergreen eyes. Oh, the glowing warmth of her gentlewoman's touch never ever had a memory matter quite so much. Oh, Appaloosa moon in a cloudy night sky, light up my trail as your clouds drift by. Might change my ways, I might change my tune. Might have fell under a spell neath an Appaloosa moon. Now every man has a choice to make when his trail divides, which path should he take? Got a lonesome feeling that I can't deny, won't let me be, and I know the reason why. She owns my heart now, what can I say? Gonna head my pony back down the trail, San Diego way. Oh, Appaloosa moon in a cloudy night sky, light up my trail as your clouds drift by. Gonna change my ways, gonna change my tune. No, I fell under a spell neath an Appaloosa moon. No, well, I fell under a spell neath an Appaloosa moon.
Tom Hyatt from Arizona. You know, it seems interesting that we had to go all the way to Ireland to record this conversation with Gerry Westergaard, but that's where we were. And in the last segment, he talked about that big gray horse, Dennis.
So, what's become of Dennis?
He was a gray horse, and he ended up with gray horse disease, and started to colic a little bit, and I had the vet come out and checked him over, and he said, well, he said, you know, we can keep him going with Banamine and that, but he's never going to get any better. So,
how old was he then?
He wasn't that old. He was probably only about, what, 14?
Really?
14, yeah.
So, and now you're back in Sherwood Park, not too far from the city where I was born.
Do you know Vic Bennett?
I've met him a few times, saddle maker, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He only lives about 10 miles from us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, do you know Rob and Marie Tanner?
No.
I'm not sure which end of Sherwood Park they're on, but they've got I'm not sure how many cows they have, but they have a little cow herd right there. And he's also the publisher of Canadian Cowboy Country magazine.
You know, I've met what's his wife's name?
Marie?
Yeah, I've met her one time.
So, but you're still pretty active with horses now?
Well, not as active as I wish I was, but no, we still stand one stud, and we have 3 mares, and so we're still, preparing, young horses for sale, and I give a few riding lessons, and 6 grandchildren, but I have two granddaughters, 2 sisters that are very active. They seem to have contracted the horse disease, and I figure, well, I might as well pass on as much of my knowledge to them as I can.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Working with them, and
that's great when they kind of pick up that interest. I know we've got 4 grandkids, and our boy, we got 2 boys, And they were good hands. I mean, they helped us a lot. They could ride, they could rope, they could doctor calves, they could ride rank horses better than I could by a long shot. But once they got on their own and realized there's other ways to make a living, they got right away from it. Yeah. And our youngest boy's daughter, she's picked it up. And she is doing show jumping all over central Alberta, and she just posted a video of her winning some classic somewhere on her horse, Edison.
That's why I've always, the horses we raise, I aim them towards the English market, because the English people will pay more for a horse than a cowboy will.
Well, yeah, that's, for sure. Yeah, I can see that. Anyway, Gerry and Patsy, been so much fun. Thanks for coming by the Spirit of the West Dublin, Ireland headquarters for doing this, and thanks for adding so much to the cruise here.
Yeah, it was a very nice cruise. I sure appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Gerry and Patsy were kind of a great example of how sometimes you meet somebody for the first time, and after only a very short time, you feel like you've known them for years. Well, coming up is something really special in our classic Song of the West segment as we introduce a young rising star, and then a great piece of cowboy poetry when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Farm Fair International returns this November 6th to 10th. Witness the future of Alberta's agriculture industry as guests from around the world gather at the Edmonton Expo Center to buy and sell top-quality livestock, make important connections, and share knowledge. At Farm Fair, you can shop for unique holiday gifts at the Winter Marketplace or enjoy a variety of Western entertainment like the Stock Dog Trials and the Heritage Ranch Rodeo. It's a big deal to buy, sell, and connect. Plan your visit at farmfairinternational.com. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. In this week's classic Song of the West segment, it was a chilly, windy day at the Provincial Winter Fair, and I just wrapped up 2 hours on the outdoor stage with my beautiful River Song guitar, and the great sound guys said, after hearing what you do, we thought you might like this, and they started playing music through the big stage speakers. And the song I heard was Wilf Carter's Calgary Roundup, but it wasn't Wilf Carter. Here's what I heard.
We're headed for Roundup, going to the big stampede. Old Dick Cosgrove's riding in the lead. Here's a rattling chuck wagon and a snorting buck in the Bronx, heading for the Calgary stampede. Gather round the old chuck wagon, fix you up some grub, flip those flapjacks over in the pan. Old Jim Ross, the cookie boys, he sure can toss them up, and his chuck is good enough for any man. Jolly bunch of cowboys, and we hope you are sane. Have no cares, laws we seldom heed. Come and gather in our circle, and we'll sing this roundup song, heading for Calgary stampede. I rode old steamboat, Jack Manley was his name. Better pal, cowpunch never knew. Way that horse, toss rope and take lead in hand. When you're stuck, he'd always see you through. hath no cares, loss we seldom heed. Come and gather in our circle and we'll sing this roundup song, heading for the Calgary stampede. Yes, we're heading for the Calgary stampede. Adio live, adio live, yo live, oh live, oh live.
So who is that singer with that great big voice? That, friends, is Colter Wall, 24 years old, from Swift Current, Saskatchewan, and you're going to be hearing more about him here in the coming weeks. And now in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight, here's Jerry Allen.
Take me back to the West, to a time when we did ride in perfect syncopation, man and horse, side by side. Take me back to the West, to a prairie open and free, to buffalo and grass so tall it hides them up to their knees. Take me back to the West. Let me breathe clean mountain air. Let me see the azure sky as if I'm standing there. Take me back to the West, to herds of horses fat and slick, to rolling seas of blue stem no plow has yet to nick. Take me back to the West. Through poetry and song, give me that forgotten stillness for which my soul does long. Take me back to the West, to that place that holds my heart, and tell me always I will stay, and from it never part. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for riding along this week, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time when we'll have more amazing stories from real people and more of that wonderful music of the West. Thanks as always to the Spirit of the West support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan. And you know, if you're looking for tractor parts, any make, any year, Mark can help you. Just go to his page, bctractorparts.com. And the latest issue of Canadian Cowboy Country Magazine is now out. Get it at your favorite newsstand or subscribe online at cowboycountrymagazine.com. And be sure and check out the Facebook and podcast versions of this program, and also our YouTube version with lots of video. You can get the links to that at our website, hugh-mclennan.com. And if you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that can help us a lot. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.